So let's talk about the next step, right? So in the last talk, we talked about getting your thoughts on paper, what you want to accomplish, what kind of goals you might want to establish and work on and succeed at or make progress toward, and then how to get that into a structured format, what makes a good goal, and then what you should do with those goals. One of the recommendations we made was to find an accountability partner or accountability or whatever you want to call it, and schedule some kind of monthly or regular meeting with them to just get some updates, right? So that there's some flow to your journey and that it's not just all on your shoulders to figure everything out every day, that you're kind of going a month to month cycle to evaluate and to grow. And so I kind of wanted to talk about that cycle today and just sort of where that idea comes from and maybe some other project management techniques that are similar and how we can apply that to what we're trying to accomplish here. So if you didn't catch the last talk and you're curious about what I'm talking about, I do have a YouTube channel and there is a playlist. I think it's not a playlist yet, but there's like a section on the homepage that's like rad talks or recaps. It's a little bit long, but you can kind of skim through it. I think it clocked in just over an hour, but it's got some useful information to get you started. We also have channels in the Discord that are dedicated to meeting other people who are interested in tracking goals and sharing successes and failures and, you know, tools and opportunities and that kind of thing. And that's also where we try to pair people up so that they can have another buddy to track these goals with from this community, right? So it's just getting off the ground. It's never too late to join. We're always accepting more people who are interested in doing this. So if that interests you, please check it out. Just say hi, and I'll try to work with you to find somebody you can pair up with and get you started. And I'm always willing to join these meetings or meet with people one-on-one or talk to them online or whatever to help them through anything, answer any questions you may have, whatever. Okay, but assuming that's all behind us, let's talk about the cycle, right? So you've got your goals. They're in a Trello board or something. Now what? Right? Now what are we going to do? Well, we've talked about setting up a monthly meeting. That would be my recommendation, whether that's with your partner or just yourself if you don't prefer working with someone else. Just having that regular schedule there to remind you and to kind of set a cadence at how often you're going to repeat this process is really important, because then it's not up to you to remember constantly what you should be doing and when you should be doing it. There's just something there to kind of set the pace for you, right? But what is that cycle like? I mean, oh, hello Otto, welcome to the Banner Brigade. You've joined us for our lecture on goal cycles. So what does that goal cycle look like, right? So I think you'll probably remember this acronym. Does anybody remember what it stands for or where it comes from? PDCA. Well, I think it's Deming. I hope it's not with an S. It's called the Deming cycle. So it's plan, do, check, and act. I do this every time. I write the A. Look at, I did it again. What is my muscle memory here? Plan, do, check, act. Okay. So this is like a concept that applies to any continuous improvement process, whether you're talking about your own goals or something at work or anything, right? That like a lot of people do this part. Like they plan to do something and then they do it and it's either successful or not, and they just kind of shrug their shoulders and either get down on themselves or pat themselves on the back momentarily and move on. And their plans and their actions are kind of modular. They don't really relate to each other, and they're not really drawing much from those experiences. But what we want to do is put everything together so that not only are you planning to do something and then doing it, but that once you're done, or when you're in the middle of doing it once a month, you take a minute to look at what you're doing, evaluate it, come away with pros and cons, and choose to act on it, right? Changing things, deciding not to change things, reorganizing things, etc. So this is a cycle, right? I'm going to use my fancy pen here. Let's see if this works. Whoo, fancy. Okay, I'm going to congratulate myself. See if this works. Oh my God. Why won't it let me click on it? This is dumb. There. Everyone enjoy my clapping. Okay, so it's a cycle, right? So what we talked about last month was putting together a list of goals and making a plan to work on them, right? Not all at once, just the ones that are coming up soonest. You know, trimming your list and prioritizing it and picking something to work on initially. That's this plan part right here, right? And then you spend the whole month doing it, right? So this is your month cycle right here. You're picking up a goal one day and saying, you know what? I need to go see a doctor. Or I have my annual physical, or I need to go get new glasses, or I need to go get my oil changed, or I need to look into setting up a exercise routine, or I need to do my taxes, whatever the goal is, however large or small. At some point during the month, you're going to pick it up and work on it, right? And what we want these monthly meetings with your accountability buddy, or accountability, I don't think we've come up with a good term for it, but just work with me, is that we want those experiences to be this check part. And that kind of comes in two different forms, okay? We both want to review what you've done for the month, and then we want everyone to take a step back after that experience of meeting with their buddy and review what it is you're doing, okay? In Agile, in like software development or in project management, we would call those the review and the retrospective. The review, we're talking about what was done or not done, like the actual work, right? And in the retrospective, we want to look back at what we are doing, this whole cycle, and take away from it maybe what we could do better, okay? So when you meet with your buddy, I want to give you like a quick sample of sort of what we might be able to talk about. So, you know, obviously, what was done, right? So if you completed goals, just repeat them. Okay, I did get my oil changed, or I did do my taxes. Like, just list off your accomplishments, right? That's a good place to start. And what's next is what didn't get done, right? That's not a failure. We're not about failure here, you know? Specifically, this whole process is the point of repetition to learn what works and what doesn't work for you and to grow. And so failure is kind of the only way to do that, right? If you succeed at everything, then you're probably never going to improve or get better, right? So failure, we see missing a goal that you wanted to accomplish, or being in the middle of something just taking a lot longer to do than you thought, is a learning opportunity, not a failure, right? So talk about those things too. What did I expect to get done? And then I didn't. Are there any big wins or observations? This is really hard to write at an angle. So that's something I'll take away from this experience, is maybe I should put this iPad on the table. Right? So is there something that, not just a goal that you accomplished, but is there something that you observed about the way you work, or the way, you know, you happen to try to accomplish your work that really worked for you, really surprised you, and that you want to share, or that you just want to point out, like, wow, I didn't know this technique was going to be so successful. Also, is there something that spectacularly failed, or just went completely off the rails, right? Was there a huge roadblock, like my house caught fire, so I couldn't work on my goals for a couple weeks, right? Those are important to kind of point out too. Like, what are the roadblocks that kept you from doing maybe what you wanted to accomplish? And so right now we're just kind of going over what happened. What happened in the last month? Once you're done with that, kind of go over what's in progress and talk about what's on deck. You know, what are you trying to accomplish in the next month? What are some things that are coming up for you that you want to accomplish? And this doesn't have to get into any detail about how you're going to do that or specifically how you're going to implement your plan. Just setting the tone of like, out of all the things I could do, here are the next 2 or 3 things I plan to do. And if you can, make some commitments, right? So at a minimum, we want to say what's next, and commitments are a bonus. Now, don't go committing to something that you're not sure if you can accomplish, right? We don't want to get in that habit. But specifically what I mean is, if there's something that's very reasonable for you to do within the next month that you meet with your accountability buddy, then try to say that. Try to set that expectation. That's what they're there for, to hold you accountable, or to create that sensation of someone other than just me cares that I accomplished this. And they will be there then in a month to congratulate you, or to kind of walk you through why weren't you able to accomplish this thing that you thought you could, and maybe we can draw some insights from that. And that's kind of it. This meeting, this review with your buddy, this review that you do with yourself or with a friend or your partner, is not meant to draw a lot of insights or go over specifically how you should set up your workflow, or what changes you should make, or even what goals you should be tackling or how you should be tackling them. That's all on you, right? This meeting is just to share. It's just to, meet and share the successes and failures and be there for each other, and kind of like let the conversation go where it will, right? This should be short. It should not be something you have to prepare for. It should not be something that you're intimidated by, right? It's just getting together over coffee or something, virtually or in person, sharing a quick update on your list or your goals, and talking about what's coming up next, and saying I'll see you in a month, right? Now, that doesn't mean you can't talk to each other or shouldn't talk to each other more regularly. A weekly check-in for 5 minutes might be nice, or something like that. But this shouldn't be intimidating. Like, the cycle, this check part of the cycle, should be pretty straightforward. Like, just talk about what was done, what was not done, and what's coming up next, and then break. Any questions so far before we move into the other check process, the retro? I'm having way too much fun with this. Okay. I'm gonna try my best to circle all of this. Wow. Okay. Sorry, smiley face, you gotta go away. So we've done one, which is the review. And oh my god, I can't draw. Okay, retrospective. So you see this cycle, right? This is a cycle that's going to be unique to everybody. How I plan to do goals and to break down my board is going to be different than GameAce and Lokai and Doobie and Dale and VHS and everyone, right? We're all going to have different things that work for us, different tools we want to use. We're going to be in different parts of the country or the globe. We have different life situations, right? We're all going to have different cycles. And the goal of this exercise is to each individually improve this cycle individually, like just for us, right? So if my buddy is Nito, right? My job is not to improve Nito's cycle, and his job is not to improve mine. Our synthesis there is just to hold each other accountable, have somebody to talk to about it, give quick updates and then break. It's my job to improve my cycle, right? My practice, my habit. And so when you have this monthly meeting with your buddy, I would strongly advise you to take time for yourself, either before or after that meeting, to do your own retrospective. And this is not looking at the work that you've done or plan to do. This is not looking at specifically the content of your goals, but just your process, right? So questions would be like, how am I getting goals onto the board? How often do I check the board or my own list? How good am I at checking it? How good am I at following through on what I commit to do? Is it fun? Is it excruciating, right? You're looking at the process, right? There's lots of different formats for this. You can do start, stop, continue, meaning like you make a list of things you want to start doing differently. You want to make a list of things you want to stop doing that you are currently doing, and then things that are going well and that you want to continue doing. If you look up retrospective templates, there's like a ton of these. In fact, while I'm thinking about it, I'm actually going to look at our work software because I know they have a bunch of pre-built templates for that. And I just can't think of any off the top of my head right now. So this is going to be a personal exercise. This is that check part, right? You're still in checking. You're still looking at your own process. We've done the review for the work, and we're doing the retro for yourself, right? And once you have this list, we need to move into ACT, right? And the ACT portion is making changes to your process and to your content, right? So through this monthly cycle, you want to keep an open mind at the end of it and at the beginning, which is kind of the whole point of it being a cycle and not a defined start and end, is while you're sharing these accomplishments or in progress or upcoming goals with your partner, does anything jump out at you? Just going over them sometimes can remind me, oh, right. And now that I'm done with that, I need to add another card to my board to do the next step of that. Or that reminded me I need to update this to do this, right? Just going back over the work can stir up your mind, and you can have epiphanies about what you need to do next. And you should probably take action on that right then, right? And update your content as quickly as possible. Likewise, when you're reviewing your process and you come up with a list of things that you want to do differently or change, you want to put those into effect as soon as possible. So you can use like start, stop, continue, like I mentioned. You can do went well, learned, accelerators or impediments. You can do mad, sad, and glad, like what made me mad about my process, what made me sad, and what made me happy. And there's just brainstorming techniques to get you to look at what is this process you are trying to follow and how can I improve it. And then put those into action, right? So if you find that you don't check your board enough, then try to come up with ways to make that more automatic. Write it on a note and put it on your computer, or make it your homepage or a link on your browser bar. Put it on the homepage of your phone. If you find that you're being a little too harsh on yourself for not completing your goals, make a note to talk about that with your buddy at your next meeting, or reach out in the Discord and try to start a thread conversation with the rest of the people doing this. Like, I guess my point is that this cycle of continuous improvement is not just about trying to get through as many goals as you can, right? Because every time you get better at this and you increase your throughput of what you can do that matters to you, it's just going to make more room for things you could do, right? We're never going to get to the end of the road. We're never going to run out of things we want to do, hopefully. And so don't put all of your effort into this. That is not the way I wanted to draw that arrow. Don't put all of your effort into the review. Make sure you're making time as well during your cycle for the retro, thinking about what specifically you could be doing better for your process. Does that make sense? And whatever comes out of both of these, if you get ideas from the review, or you spur changes that you want to make from your own retrospective, try to take action on them as soon as possible, right? Or put them somewhere where you know you're going to make these changes immediately, because this is that time that you should set aside to make these changes. And if you don't make them immediately, it's pretty unlikely that you're going to find a perfect time to do it again soon. Okay. And then, of course, this cycle just sort of keeps going. As soon as you choose to make actions about your process, it's time to plan again. Pivot immediately into looking at your board, applying any lessons learned, reorganizing your goals, make sure the priority is accurate. If you need to do any kind of breaking down and checklisting of any goals that are upcoming, that's a good time to do it. And then boom, we're right back at the P. It's time to get some goals done, and then before you know it, it'll be your next meeting with your buddy, your partner, which is your time to check, review your work with them, and then take time to yourself to review your process, act on any changes you want to make, etc. So this is not a race, right? The whole point of this process is to slowly and iteratively get better at what you're doing over a very long period of time. We're talking about months and years, right? Not days, weeks, or even just a couple months. So this is not supposed to be pressure. This is just supposed to be a framework. As long as you are trying your best to follow this simple framework of plan, do, then actually take time to check both with your partner and yourself, and actually act on the feedback that you get, then the process should take care of itself over some amount of time. You will always be getting better if you try to follow these processes. Okay? So, I do want to remind everyone, I know I say this all the time, but it's a journey. It's not about the destination. We're not trying to check off the 100 goals you came up with. We're trying to get better at tracking what we care about and getting the things we care about done, instead of letting things that just happen to happen around us distract us and pull us off in every direction, right? It's really about taking control of your own life and deciding what is important to you, and then putting techniques and practices together to help reinforce that. Because it's not a personal failure if you don't necessarily follow through on everything that's important to you. You are not in control of the entire world, and distractions are everywhere, and we have responsibilities oftentimes we don't even really want, right? But this is about empowering you to take control of the time that you do have and the attention span that you do have on a day-to-day basis, to try to just stretch that a little farther and get a little bit more out of your day and your life than you could otherwise. And there's no failure. I just want to reiterate that for the 1000th time. When you check and act, we're not asking, what did I succeed and fail at, and how do I not fail at it next time? We're saying, what happened? How do I feel about that? And what are some steps I can take to avoid the things that made me feel bad? Right? This check step is not how many goals did I get done, and next time do I get more goals done? It's just, is this working for me, and how could I make it work better for me? Okay. Now, this is the retro part is mostly an individual process. I would say talk to your buddy or your partner or whoever you review this with, to see if this is something that they would be willing to help you with, right? It's much more effective, I think, as an individual, because you're the one doing the work and you're the one following the process. But if you have good takeaways from it, don't hesitate to share with your buddy or with the group, right? Any folding back into the larger group that we can do, the more it'll be reinforced and the more we can help each other. So quickly, what I wanted to do is just kind of go through what's on my board right now and just give you a quick example of how I would go through this with a partner on a once a month basis. Now, I think I have looked over this and I think everything on it is good, but if something crops up that I don't really want to talk about, like, just bear with me and I'll just delete the VOD and go hide under a desk, okay? Okay, let's see. Hey, there it is. Okay, is that full screen enough for you? Yeah, there we go. So this is my board. If you want to know how to set up a board and exactly how I set this up, you might want to check my previous video. But like I said in that video, I keep a lot of things that I accomplished in done so that I can very easily review it. So it's kind of in reverse chronological order. So the thing at the bottom is the thing I finished farthest ago. So this is how easy this is. I'm going to pretend chat is my accountability partner and I'll just go first. Okay, well, last month I wanted to hang a bathroom mirror in my shower so that I could shave more easily. It's been kind of a struggle and I did that. Okay, cool. I came up with a schedule for my week. I blocked off some times during the week to do professional development and exercise, and when I was going to go get breakfast myself out or when I was going to eat at home. And that's been working out pretty well so far. I haven't had enough time to evaluate it yet, so I don't have any like success stories, but it's a start. I also hung up a towel hang in the bathroom. I originally was going to have it drywall screwed into the wall, but I found that just a couple picture hanging nails was sufficient for what I wanted. So that's been working out. I finally broke down and did my taxes. It was interesting because Twitch sends some pretty weird forms that I've never had to file with taxes before, but Lokai helped me out a little bit with like making the best decisions that I could. I submitted it and I actually already have my tax refund. So that's something I accomplished. I finally updated my driver's license information and insurance since we moved out of Central Florida. And I have a plan specifically for when I want to complete that process and deal with the car titles and everything like that. I finally finished reading Derek Yu's book about creating Spelunky, specifically both Classic and HD, not Spelunky 2. And I'm not sure I would recommend it to anyone on the basis that like there is a better no-clip YouTube documentary that pretty much goes over the same information that I'd already seen. So I don't feel like I learned that much, but I did read a book, and it's hard for me to sit down and read books and make that time, so I'm happy about that. Based on the feedback of streaming Spelunky speedrunning, I did not want to do that on stream anymore, but I was able to pop in offline and get completions for all shortcuts plus Tiamat, all characters, and low JT, and I'm pretty happy with that. I purchased a USB hub because I'm running out of USB ports on my computer, and I've got that all hooked up. I scavenged my old computer from years past and disposed of the parts that were no longer good or necessary. I took apart my old Mac Mini and took the SSD out of it and put that in an enclosure. And the parts that were good left over from my previous computer, I worked with Dale to figure out what he needed and packaged up and went to the post office and shipped him a box of parts, which I have confirmed he received. And that's it. Right now, I'm nearing completion on my Daylight Hours music video. If I can find some time to work on it, it should be done by our next meeting. Lokai and I are planning a vacation in late April or early May. We've decided kind of how the cadence of our trips are going to go this year. Just haven't really picked any specific destinations, and I haven't asked for time off, so I need to do that. I am making pretty good progress on doing professional development for my certifications, so I've got a couple playlists left to watch. And I haven't been keeping up with the Animorph series too much, but I have made it 3 books in, and I found a couple audiobooks for the next couple books, so I'm going to try to change that up a little bit and listen to some of those on the road. Coming up next month, I would like to find a place locally here that I can get Sonic comics from, because I kind of stopped following up with those before we moved. I need to reestablish that somewhere. I want to write and update my blog. Don't know if I'm going to get to that this month, but it's coming up soon. And I want to have a plan for my old MacBook Pro now that I've upgraded to a new laptop. What am I going to do with that? Am I going to trade it in, or are we going to put it somewhere for general use? I don't know. So that's what my next month looks like. My board is getting a little light on goals. I may need to do some time. I may need to schedule some time to think through, do some brainstorming activities. Like I mentioned in the last talk, like just look over every app in my phone, just see if there's anything I mean to work on that I'm just not thinking of, and kind of refresh and reprioritize my board. So that's probably going to be some work I do before next month. But for now, I got a bunch of big things on the list. I got a big video I'm taking care of, planning vacations, and then I'm going to pick up another piece of content that I'm working on, a Mist Uru retrospective video, and that's probably going to take most of my month. And that's it. And honestly, you don't need to be as verbose as I was being. I was just kind of hamming it up a little bit, but that's it. That's all you really need to share with your partner. You know, we don't need to talk about techniques specifically of how I did anything or how I'm going to implement anything on this board. Like, that's up to me to figure out and decide. But I didn't really encounter any major roadblocks. I understand why the things that are not done are not done. And I'm not going to treat my partner as like a therapist, right? I'm not going to say, why do you think I wasn't able to get done what was most important to me, or something like that, right? Like, that's that kind of stuff. You might have someone in your life that you can talk to about this, but this kind of a monthly activity is really supposed to be focused on just getting a quick update from each other. And then, like, with whatever time you have remaining, what did that quick discussion spur, right? Keep it time boxed to half an hour or an hour. You can have whatever social discussion about the contents that you shared with each other that you want, but make sure it stays within that range, or you're going to start to get sick of it and kind of dread it as it's coming up. Okay? And for the retro, I would probably take a step back and say, is this Trello board working out for me? Do I check it often? Yes. I've been practicing this for years, so at this point, there's not going to be anything super obvious about my workflow that I need to think through. Maybe the only thing I'm going to start thinking about is I have so many different work streams at this point that how can I better manage those, right? So I have a Trello board for both my personal life and the stream. It's kind of hard to remember to check both. Maybe I need to think a little bit better about when do I check one versus the other. Do I dedicate time to each one to prevent from hyper focusing on something in my personal life and forgetting about easy wins for the stream, or vice versa? Do I deep dive all night trying to work on something for stream and then neglect something that was important to me in my personal life? So that's what I'm going to be looking to do this month, but that's not a quick win. So, okay. That would be my advice for you, both in as a recap. Make sure that you're making time to check and act, right? So planning, important. Have that plan. Have your goals written down. Actually try to accomplish them. Make sure you're taking time on a regular basis to look at your board, evaluate what you've been getting done, what's in progress and what's coming up, refreshing, that process, sharing it with somebody, and then make changes, right? Look at what's not working and change them. Look at what is working and amplify it. And then start over and make sure you're doing this on a regular basis. I suggest monthly, but part of the beauty of this process is that if you start monthly and you find that that's not working for you, then you can change it to 2 months. If it's not working for you, you can change it to 3 weeks or 2 weeks or weekly. That's what this process is about. Maybe that's where you start. Is this monthly thing working out for me? What would be a better cadence, right? But this is up to you. What you end up doing to act on your changes is entirely personal, and you don't have to get it right on the first try. This is something that you'll refine over time. As long as you're following this cycle, it'll all work out eventually. And we will be here for you, right? If you can't think of anything, if you've got a problem and you don't know what you should change, that's what the Discord's for. That's what we'll be around for. We are always willing to have discussions about the nitty-gritty that maybe you don't have the best answer to.